But let's get it cracking on tonight, man. The Knicks went into the Garden in Game 6 and played like it was a Game 7 and gave the Celtics no hope in winning the game. They exactly did what we talked about, what was needed. And your boy, OG, how much did he have, Eric?
20 plus. I know at least he had 23 from what I checked, 22, 23, right?
And what happens when OG Anunoby gets above 20? The Knicks are 6-0 in these playoffs when OG Anunoby scores 20
we know the
plus
secret.
points.
We know the secret.
That was huge for the Knicks. And anything else you see? I mean, obviously it's a blowout, but what do you think of the game?
Man, I first gotta say, what is this? The year 2000? We're in the 90s because it's crazy. What it like? Chris Childs, John Starks, Charles Oakley. Stand up. This is your time to shine. It's just been it's just crazy to think that it's been 25 years. I mean, of course, the year 2000 for some of us doesn't feel that long ago, but it is 25 years since Knicks have gotten to the Eastern Conference Finals. And so, ironically enough, it was against the Indiana Pacers. And actually the year before that as well was the Indiana Pacers. So it's definitely a trend between these two teams. And so that's something, that just kind of stands out to me. It's just pretty crazy how it is. But in terms of today, I mean, look, like we talked about it, this was a Knicks moment. Boston, I think they kind of laid it out all on the line in Game 5. Like that was like their one game to be like, you know what, we're not going to go out like that. And obviously they played pretty well, and we thought, hey, Knicks better treat today like a Game 7, and that's really what they did. They came out, they handled business. It was really just, everybody playing well, very well balanced. Obviously, like you look at the stat sheet and things like that, it's a little miscued because of obviously it was a blowout, and so there were some guys that were obviously playing that normally wouldn't play. But yeah, I mean, this is the one game that actually Knicks came out right away and handled business. So it was definitely good to see. What did you see out there?
This was a Tom Thibodeau type of game. The Knicks played nothing but all-out defense. There was a play in the second quarter where Mitchell Robinson closed out on Jaylen Brown. I think he was in the corner. Came from basically inside the paint, closed out on him, and just suffocated him. Basically, and like created a turnover. They got the ball, scored, etc. Right from the get-go. I mean, we had McBride getting a chase down block. I mean, they were just all over everybody. OG, Mikal Bridges, their defensive studs were out there. And I think, honestly, that's a recipe for them to keep going in these playoffs, how to play against Indiana. If they can get that defensive squad that I know Tom Thibodeau knows this, but this season they didn't play like the best defensive team like they're capable of playing. But this playoffs, like I said before, they're in the top 3 in defensive efficiency. So they have found a secret with this team, especially with Mitchell Robinson and some of these guys that they already have, to play hard-nosed defense. And if they can do that, I think that will help them tremendously in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, it was definitely a Tom Thibodeau special, all the way to the end when he had his starters in up 35 with like 3 minutes to go. I'm like, come on, man! Like I get it, Like
first of all, let's get to this. Jaylen Brown fouled out in the third quarter, and the Knicks were up by, I mean, what was it, 35 at that point? Whatever it was, there was absolutely no way the Celtics would come back in that fourth quarter.
No chance.
Like, I mean, it's just, it's almost impossible. You've lost Tatum for the year. Jaylen Brown's fouled out. There's no way Porzingis was bringing you back in this game. So Thibodeau, he grinds his players, and we know that. But I do respect what he does. He empowers his players, I think. He allows them to play like it's the 90s and play those type of minutes. And people are hating on him constantly. But to be honest with you, it's not like, I mean, yeah, they had some injuries last year when they got into the playoffs. Just people just got really banged up, obviously. but they're a pretty healthy team overall. It's not like they're having these long-term injuries where players are out for the year, things like that. They just get some knick-knack stuff. And it reminds me more of a 90s team where, yeah, they're banged up, but they are going to play every minute, right? They're going to play and get stronger every game. And so I kind of like that style of what he's brought right now.
Yeah, I mean, even like last year, you recall, obviously we don't know what would have happened, but Knicks, again, they played the Pacers last year in the second round, and they had some injuries, that really changed that series around. And I remember thinking like, oh man, I want to see New York versus Boston, just because I thought maybe they had a little bit of the recipe to give them a challenge. And obviously, a little bit different of a Knicks team this year, they really did. And so, yeah, we're going to obviously need to see a little bit more of that next round, but those first two games, like Boston up 20, Knicks coming back to steal those in Boston are obviously like, I mean, it's from the Boston perspective, it's really hard to win a series, I think, when that happens to you.
Yeah.
And then for the Knicks, hey, they took advantage of what was given to them. And I mean, it was a pretty impressive series for them, and definitely happy for those fans that have been waiting for a moment like this for a long time, for sure.
25 years.
Unbelievable.
I do want to give some respect to the Knicks because, obviously the big scenario is that Tatum got injured. But if we just dial back and just look at the whole series in detail, I mean, New York won 2 games on the road to start the series. That was with Tatum, obviously. They lost game 3, but even in game 4, they were up by 7, going up by 9 with OG's dunk after that Tatum injury. Yeah. So essentially, they were probably going to win that game regardless if Tatum was there. So at that point, they're going up 3-1, likely are still closing out this series. So I don't want to really knock off what the Knicks did in this series, because I think they would have won this series regardless if Tatum was healthy. It just didn't seem like Boston was really that team this year. Going into this round, they just didn't have it, especially when you lose 2 games at home. Even though they were up by 20 in both those games, you just can't. If you don't close out games like that, you're bound to get yourself in trouble, and that's what Boston did.
Yeah, and I mean, they, like you said, they were probably going to lose game 4 anyways, and it's real tough to go back to back, man. It's you could have the same team coming back, you could have an amazing season like Boston did, but it's tough. I mean, this would be the 7th straight year that a team has not gone back to back, which is definitely different. In the NBA, we're used to kind of dynasty back to backs. I mean, 3-peats don't happen that much, but we're kind of used to those kind of things. They're winning 2 and 3 years, kind of like the Spurs teams did a lot of times. But yeah, they were going to be down 3-1 without him, and it would have been a tough task to come back. And so definitely got to give props to the Knicks, because they really, regardless of Tatum playing in game 5 and 6, they took it to them and they won fair and square.
Yeah, definitely. Now, talking about 25 years ago, right? Same matchup, Indiana versus the Knicks. They even had Rick Brunson on that roster. And we got Jalen Brunson on this roster. I mean, that's pretty amazing, right? To see that Jalen Brunson's dad was on that roster. Jalen Brunson's dad is coaching on this roster, and his son is the star of this team. So I think there's some cool, little scenarios here going into this series. Obviously, we have all the history between Indiana and New York. Reggie Miller is being calling his final broadcast for TNT and covering this series. I mean, can you?
I better see him and Spike going at it.
Can you Can you just imagine whatever in one of these games, like Spike looking at Reggie, somebody getting a 3, Halliburton looking at Reggie, dapping up Reggie if he hits a 3. Some of the Knicks players looking at Reggie. I mean, just for no reason, just because he's Reggie Miller, right?
Yeah.
So it's gonna be, to be honest, this is gonna be a great series. Like when you first went into the playoffs, I don't think we ever thought this was a series, right? Just because of you figure the Celtics would kind of get by. You figure Cleveland's been as good as they've been, and we kept talking about the Eastern Conference is kind of weak, blah blah
let's
blah
just
blah
skip to the
blah.
Eastern Finals, Boston
Yeah.
and Cleveland. Yeah, I know.
So I think it's time that we have to realize that there's some good young teams in this league, and there's much more parity in this league than there's ever been in probably history, right? So kudos to Adam Silver because I think he's done a really good job with the last CBA and just balancing out the NBA, even though, yeah, you always talk about ratings. I mean, New York is going to drive some ratings, but we always talk about like, oh, we want the Lakers there. We want this team, the Celtics there, blah, 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 blah. This is going to be a great series with a great young stars in this league. So excited for it.
Yeah, parity is definitely real right now in the NBA, or at least it seems like it, because we're getting different winners every year. We're getting different conference finals every, it seems like for the most part every season. Obviously, you have some of your top dog teams, and they usually do pretty well, but some of them are fizzling out early in the playoffs too. And so, there's something to be said for having like a dominant team for either people to like hate watch, or obviously if you're a fan of the team, you want to see them, win more and more. And so, that has done pretty well. It's been pretty successful in the NBA too. But yeah, I mean, it kind of gives every team, it seems like, a fighting chance coming into the season. You just gotta like it. It wasn't the same. Like you go to like, the NFL, it's like, let's just make the dance right. And, hopefully, the ball bounces our way a couple times and we can get to the Super Bowl. But the NBA was like typically like you play a 7-game series, like the teams that you think are going to be there are normally there. And so, it's been a crazy playoffs. And, wasn't the Knicks Pacers 3-4 seed that we kind of drew up, but there's a lot of history there, obviously. And so I think that's going to be pretty cool. They played last year, but I think this is going to be obviously even bigger. It's for all the marbles in the East, and the winner is going to go to the NBA Finals, which I don't think we had penciled in. And so, I think the playoffs are in a good place right now.
Definitely. So let's kind of dive into this preview here of the Knicks and Pacers Eastern Conference Finals, right? So when we look at this series and kind of see what they've both done in the playoffs so far, what do you see this like? How do you see this series shaking out a little bit?
I think so they played 7 last year, and I would be very surprised if it's less than 7 this year.
No.
I think it's going to be a split the first 2 games, and then it's just going to be off to the races. I definitely won't be disrespecting the Pacers anymore. That's for sure. I'd like to give the edge to the Knicks. I don't know if it's just because I would rather see them, or feel like maybe it's like their time to get back. But same with Indiana. So Indiana made the finals the year 2000, right? And so that was the last time, that they were in the finals. So it's going to be, and then the year before that, the Knicks made the finals. So it's going to be the first time in 25, 26 years that one of these teams are going to be in the NBA finals. And so I see it going the distance. And, I guess I'd have to kind of go with the home team in that case. But I think, Indiana's got a high octane offense. I like to see what we saw. Knicks defense really, really has improved as the playoffs has gone on. And so it'll be interesting to see. It's going to be a different type of matchup. And I mean, the stars will be out, and it's going to be a hell of a series for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure. Offensively, I think this is going to be one of those series where it's going to be pretty high scoring because you got 2 teams that just kind of run in pace and definitely were one of the highest scoring teams in the league. They're up there, right? When I look at some matchups here, like you look at obviously Halliburton versus Jalen Brunson. Obviously, you have to get the edge to Jalen Brunson, but I don't think Hallie is that far off, especially what he does in the playoffs. Like, I feel like you'll probably get more up and downs from him versus Jalen Brunson. You're going to have that consistency, and he'll probably win you some games, obviously. And then Halliburton would just have like 2 games where you're just like, whoa, this dude is legit. and they might fall apart for a game, and that's when the Knicks kind of win. So I honestly, I think like the Pacers will really like be catered to what Halliburton does in this series. If he's kind of pedestrian and doesn't do his normal stuff, I don't think they have a chance. But if he's doing his thing and he's playoff Halliburton, I think they have a major chance in this series. I do think it's going at least 6 or 7. I don't see a quick sweep, or I don't see any like 4-1. But I give the edge to the Knicks based on their personnel right now and how deep their starting lineup is, and their ability to bring in Mitchell Robinson for defense, and also just have the wing defenders like OG and Mikal Bridges, and also Josh Hart. So I feel like they just have the defenders to kind of stop Indiana as much as possible, and probably put them through to the finals.
Yeah, like I mean, Indiana's going to play like the 9-10 guys that they normally play, and at this point, we've seen both teams play for 2 series, and obviously, like it's matchup driven in terms of how these teams look, but we kind of know what it is with these 2 teams, what they're going to bring, and so it can come down to just as simple as Halliburton. If he's a playmaker, obviously picking his spots with scoring, then they're going to be in it for sure and have a great chance to win. And same goes with Brunson if he's the superstar, and star that he's been and that he's capable of, and obviously they'll do well. And same things, it happened when they were playing the Pistons, the games that he was like, you know what, I'm going to take over. They really had no chance. And then same thing with this in this Boston series. So, I think as the next few days go along, we'll probably break it down some more, but just kind of preliminary thoughts. It's going to be a hell of a series. These 2 teams have battled 8 times in their history. And Indiana has won 6 of the 8. And so they've had a little bit of success, like kind of as of late. They haven't played too much, but other than last year, of course. And they played, one year when Paul George was on Indiana and Carmelo Anthony was on the Knicks. And so Indiana took care of that one. And so, I think I'm done like counting out the Pacers. That's for sure.
Can't count them out. Yeah. I think this series is closer to a toss up. And then if you're looking at a toss up, obviously you kind of go to home court with that.
Yep.
And so Knicks in 7 seems like a logical choice. But you never know with these playoffs, like where injuries hit or something hits and it changes the trajectory of the series.